Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's video. I thought I would do a fun little video to honor my 1 year anniversary of being on YouTube. This happened very accidentally. I did not mean to be on YouTube. I started filming this thing called Cult Story Time every morning during the 2 week period last year when they said lockdown would be 2 weeks. And I was like, great, something to do. And that turned into a year, and that turned into a YouTube channel. And here we are. But I wanted to share 12 big things that I have learned. Not all of them are really um, enlightening. Some of them are, some of them aren't. But it's just stuff that I've learned, and I thought it would be fun to come on here and share it with y'all because you guys have been on this journey with me, and I appreciate you being here. So I wrote it out. It's all scribbles. This is the pen that I used. It's adorable. Anyways, so the number one thing that I learned, the first thing that I learned on this journey is that nothing beats natural lighting. I must have natural light. That was my first thing that I learned. The second thing that I learned is that the camera should be approximately waist high. Otherwise, my face looks distorted if I'm up too close. That's something I'm still learning. I still haven't figured it out, but that was one of the things that I learned. Number three is that it is okay to take breaks and redirect and go go internally if I need to take a break. Because at the beginning of this, I was doing cult story time, and I would just basically tell a funny story from my days growing up in the cult and being in communes. And what ended up happening is I started becoming quite depressed. Because when you constantly relive a memory, your brain doesn't know that you're no longer there. It just literally relives the memory, and then it can put me into fight or flight. And as I was doing that, I thought I was like telling a funny story, and really it was kind of traumatic in my body, especially with everything happening in the world and like being trapped in my house, which was reminiscent of being trapped in a commune. So I learned that it was okay to take breaks. I tried to do a video a day, and I did that for about a month and a half, something like that. And then I just stopped, and I didn't do anything for almost a month because I knew something was off, but I didn't know what it was. And so I just kind of waited and did internal work. And in order to be able to do that, I had to give myself permission to stop. Because in my head, I was like, no, I promised people I would do this. And if I don't do this, I'm a failure. And what I realized is that if I cannot function, I need to stop and take a break. And the most important person in my life is me. And if I am not functioning, nothing else in my life goes right. So take breaks is what I learned. Number four is that it is about a body of work, not about a content machine. So when I first started this, again, I was still in that mindset of what sort of content can I produce, like what would be fun for other people, as opposed to now where I think, what do I want my legacy to be? And when I think of legacy, and also if you look at my YouTube channel or if you've been here a long time, you do see a switch. For a while, it was just storytelling because I thought that is what the consumer would want or what the viewer would want. And then at some point I stopped and I thought about, what do I want? What do I want to leave in the world, and what can I be proud of? And that's when it switched to kind of building a body of work. Like, what sort of message do I want to leave in the world? What would be really important to me? And when I switched that, I started immediately feeling less stressed about how it was received, and more wanting to be proud of myself for what I put out. So the other thing that I learned is that it is about a body of work. It is not about producing content. And I think that was a really important switch for me to make. And it has been the thing that allows me to continue doing it, because these are not stressful. These videos for me are what I want to put out into the world. And so then it becomes fun. It doesn't become, oh, how is it going to be received? How many views is it going to get? It's just, what legacy what piece of my legacy do I want to add on this week? So number five is I learned that people will support you because they are supposed to, but eventually they will come for your throat if they feel exposed, and that's okay. And what I mean by that is, when I first started this channel, people supported me because they knew they were supposed to support me. And I think it was kind of like, oh, she's doing a new thing, sure. Almost like support in a trivializing way, trivializing the thing that I'm doing because they don't think I'm serious, which happens to me throughout my life. Being a woman, I think that we feel that a lot. And I'm sure it's not a gender thing, but I know for me, that has played into it a lot when I say I'm going to do a thing and people go, oh, that's cute. Um, but I got a lot of support in the beginning from people who later came for me because they felt like I was exposing something in them, which, if you've been here and you've seen these channel and you've seen my videos, I talk about myself because other people's stories are not mine to tell. I cannot tell their stories for them. I can only tell my story. That's the only thing that I have authority to tell, is my experience and my story. And um, but this is a trauma thing, that when you grow up in trauma and you are afraid, and if so and so does something, this happened to me a lot in the commune, where if one kid in the class was bad, the teacher would punish the whole class. Or if one kid turned in their assignment late, the whole class would get a beating. And so it's still that deeply rooted fear of, if one person messes up, it's going to affect me and I'm going to have to take the blame or the punishment for the thing that this person is doing. And of course, all the people who ended up coming for me were people who were ex-members. I've not had a single person who is a systemite. And by the way, a systemite is a person who is part of the world, not part of the cult. But I've never had anyone, any systemite or anyone who wasn't part of the cult, feel like they needed to come stop me. It has exclusively been ex-members, which also tells me that that I should have compassion for them, because I do know where the pattern is coming from. But that was something that happened. It all kind of happened around the 5-month mark because they realized I wasn't stopping. And so they all kind of came out within a period of 2 months. So the 6 and 7 month mark was rough, because a lot of people showed up and they were like, you need to stop. Like, we're upset with you. And they didn't know each other. They just all kind of came out of the woodwork. That was an interesting thing to go through, but that is what I learned, is that people will come for you if they feel exposed, and that's okay. That's part of their journey, and this is part of mine. The 6th thing that I learned is that, can I read my writing? Hold on. Oh, the things that connect me the most to others are the things that I thought were exclusively in my head. And I've had a few of you do this, where you say, oh my God, I thought only I thought that. And when I was thinking those things, I thought only I thought them. And I think what I have learned is that the human experience is very, very similar. I can have a thought that somebody on the other side of the world with a completely different background and a completely different future, we can have the same human experience and we can have the same thought in our head. And that, to me, is incredible. And I think the ability to articulate and share the thoughts in my head has been the number one thing that has connected me to people. And at the time that I was having the thought, I thought, I'm the only one who feels this way, and I better not share it, because if I share it, everyone else is going to know. And then they're going to think I'm a weirdo and I'm going to be shunned. And really, the thing that has connected me the most is sharing the thoughts that I thought were exclusively mine and were exclusively part of my trauma, or my humaneness or my humanness. And that, for me, has been really lovely to know that the parts of me that I thought I had to hide are actually the parts of me that connect me to people all over the world. So that was the 6th thing. The 7th thing is that trauma lessens when it is a shared experience, but you do have to keep moving forward. And this one, I think, is really important, because as I share these stories, a lot of people come to me, and this is a very normal thing, and they express their trauma. And what we are trying to do, or what I used to do, and what is very normal when you grow up in trauma, is you don't feel like you can connect with people because you don't know who you are, but you do have a shared experience of trauma. So you see, I have shared my trauma, and then people come in to try and share their trauma, and what they're hoping for is connection, but instead what forms is a trauma bond. And then the only thing that connects you is that a bad thing happened to me and a bad thing happened to you. And that's not really connection, that's more of a trauma bond. So I do think that trauma becomes easier to bear when it is shared. However, you do have to do your own work of working through your trauma. I think it's It's important to know that you are not suffering alone, definitely not. Other people have suffered with and alongside you, but you absolutely have to continue healing yourself. No one else can heal your trauma for you. It is important, I think, again, trauma is a shared experience, but you do have to also do your own personal work and take yourself along in your own trauma journey. That is something that other people can walk alongside, but they can never bear your burden of it. Number 8, the thing that I learned. When this first started and I was trying to launch this YouTube channel, I thought it would be fun. I thought it would be fun to make a 1-minute video announcing that I was going to do this. Just being like 60 seconds. That way I could upload it everywhere and I could just be like, hey, you know, a lot of you have really enjoyed my cult story time, so I'm going to move to YouTube and do it there. And also say the reason why I was doing it. And that 1-minute video I shot for 5 hours one afternoon. I tried to shoot it from 12 p.m. till 5 p.m. And all I needed was 60 seconds of usable footage. And I shot for 5 hours and I couldn't do it. I could not do it. I would mess up the words. I would mess up the lighting. Somebody would walk by, a car would drive by. I couldn't do it. And what I ended up doing was crying for 3 hours and feeling like a failure, and then having to go through all those things of like, why did I think I could do this? Like, I knew it. You know, it's that thing of where you try to break past a pattern, and your pattern is doing one last attempt to stop you. And when I realized that that was happening, I thought, well, what's the pattern? Like, there's no reason why I shouldn't be able to get 60 seconds out of me. It shouldn't take me 5 hours to get 60 seconds out of me. And I was really upset with myself. And I was really stuck. And what it showed me was that when you expand, when you try and expand and you try and do the next thing, your trauma pattern or the blockage that's in the way does one last attempt to block you. And if you recognize that it's not you, it's a pattern trying to keep you safe, or it's a pattern trying to keep you from doing something, then you have to ask, what's the pattern? Which leads me to my next thing, number 9, because I found the pattern. I found the pattern that was holding me back. After 5 hours of filming, 3 hours of crying, I thought, well, what is it? I'm going to sit here until I figure out what it is. And I found it. It was that I didn't think that I deserved to be seen. And for me, being seen always meant I would get in trouble. And my brain was trying to keep me safe out of love for me. It was trying to keep me safe and trip me up so that I wouldn't be seen, so that I wouldn't start this YouTube channel, so that I would do the thing that I know how to do, which is be silent, be unseen, be unheard, and that's how you're safe. And it was a really, really scary thing to break through, because up until that point it had worked. The only way that I was safe is because I was unseen and unheard. But what I did is I sat down and I thought, okay, number 9, I deserve to be seen and heard. I deserve to tell my story. I have a story to tell. I want to tell it because it's healing for me. And actually, everybody deserves to be seen and heard. I have a story, and so do you. And that was the thing that I learned. That's number 9, is that everyone has a story. Everyone deserves to be seen and heard. You deserve to tell your story. Number 10 is my view of success, how my view of success has changed. And success is not how this is received. Success is getting it out of me. Because the thing that was holding me back for a long time was I was like, oh, will it upset people? Will it be received? Will people be upset with me? Will it make my career worse? Are people, like potential employers, going to find it and then not hire me? And what I thought of and realized, and again, this goes along with the legacy, is that success is not how it's received. Success is getting it out of you. And so I'm just a conduit. And there are things that I want to say and things that I want to express. I know why I want to express them. And success is me being able to do this, to sit down and to share it. This for me is what I count as being successful. How it's received is out of my hands, but getting it through me is my idea of success. And I think if you can get stuff through you, then you get to build legacy. So my idea of success has changed from being how is it going to be received to being how much can I create, how much can I let come through me. Number 11 is to wear eyeliner underneath my eyes, which I did not know. I used to only do eyeliner on the top, and as I was filming, I have learned to now put eyeliner underneath my eye, and that's important. Yes, it took me 35 years to learn, but now I know. And number 12 is my is the way that I view the nature of the trauma beast. And a lot of us are here because of shared trauma experiences. And the best thing that I have come up with for what trauma is and the nature of the beast that is trauma is that it starts small. And as you run from it, it starts to chase. And the longer it chases you, the more you run from it, the larger it seems to be. So if you have been running for 2 years, or you have been running for 57 years, it will feel so much larger the longer that you run from it. But the nature of the beast is that as soon as you turn to face it, it starts to dissipate. And as soon as you turn to look at it, it shows itself to be much smaller than it had appeared to you. And that is the best analogy that I have come up with so far for what trauma is like, to where you do start to run from it. And I think that we think that running from it will keep us safe. And really, the nature of the beast is that as you run from it, it chases you and it gets larger. And it can do that, and you can run for all of your life, and it will chase for all of your life. And the moment that you have that little bit of courage in you to stop, turn and look at it, to stand and face, it begins to dissipate, and it begins to dissipate very quickly. It is not as scary as you think it is in your head. But if you continue to be afraid of it, you will continue to run, and it will continue to chase you and seem larger. So I encourage you to stand and face. And if you are here, you already are. So those are the 12 things that I have learned. I hope that you find it in you if you haven't yet. I hope that you find it in you to turn and stand and face it. It is not as scary as you think it is. It'll try and keep you safe. It'll do those patterns. You might spend 5 hours trying to film a 1-minute video and it won't work, but you will find something inside of you, and you will find the ability to break through the things that you need to break through. So my belief is that life is meant to be long enough to recover. And if you are still alive, there is still hope. So these are the 12 things that I've learned. I hope that it was helpful. If you have learned anything and you want to share it, please leave it below. I do feel so grateful to have found community here. It was so unexpected. Again, this whole thing was kind of an accident, happy accident. But I feel, and every time I read the comments with people like speaking very kindly to each other and encouraging each other, it really does give me hope. And hope in humanity was not something that I had for decades. And so being here and seeing it cultivated right in front of me means a lot, and gives me more reason to continue doing what I'm doing, in the hopes of continuing to find incredible human beings. So thank you for being here. I really do appreciate you, and I'll see you next time.